Weird idea, but I felt inspired from other areas of YouTube. It's not like this is original, but I noticed that wrestling YouTube lacked a video like this. I want to make this for a while, but I struggled with properly structuring it. With that said, I doubt you guys want to see me rank everyone on the roster based on morals, because it would be a struggle then compared to ranking them on their card positioning, you know, lower mid card, main event or whatever. So I cut a bunch of the roster in favor of more notable talent, and some will be left out, such as Paul Heyman. So I apologize for that. I just wanted the video to be paced right because it looks to be long, and I didn't want any unnecessary length for the sake of it. You know, we don't want to link pad this video. We don't want the video to overstay its welcome. And maybe you guys want in the future, you know, the full entire roster. Just let me know in the comments. I don't say this that often, but what is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. I've obviously disappeared over the last couple of days because I'm busy with this video. I was fully focused on trying to make this, and in a way, my ego got the best of me. I was like, oh, we could do this in 3 days. Well, we clearly couldn't. Okay, with that said, 2003 had some wrestlers who were simply evil. Almost every year has them, but there was a lot of different kinds of villains in 03. Men who wanted to bury others alive, electrocute balls, assault their daughter. Okay, so this is how it goes. We go from good to evil. Once again, this is not a very original idea. I saw several months ago. I just had some problems with the pacing of the video, and I decided 2003 was the best way to start this off. Why? Because for one, I'm playing a 2003 year review video, hopefully for this month, so I decided, why don't we talk about the roster first? Alright, Trish Stratus. In the evil land of WWE, Trish Stratus was basically the cleanest wrestler you could ask for. Sure, there was some moments here and there, but were they unwarranted? No, this is where others such as Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler fall in as well. These women weren't going to dish out something petty unless it was deserved. Otherwise, they wrestled fair and won fair. On SmackDown, Rey Mysterio is probably the cleanest male wrestler. He went out there, tried to battle adversity, and even though others tried to steer him off the path by cheating in their matches, he was still the ultimate good guy. You would see others who were similar, such as Rob Van Dam. RVD was always about doing his work. He wasn't that intense, just trying to win matches. Once again, Booker T falls in the same category somewhat, along with Goldberg, Kevin Nash, and Chris Benoit, who from that time period was obviously a good guy. So I'd rank it like this: Ray, RVD, Booker, Goldberg, Nash, and Benoit. These guys had their moments, but ultimately compared to everyone else, they're the cleanest wrestlers on the roster. Nash was out here saving Trish from Test, showed loyalty to Triple H, and believed he could get the band back together. Goldberg almost never attacked somebody unless they deserved it, and as hard as it is to believe, Benoit is here because he's a straight-up competitor. For these next guys, though, it's a bit blurry. When you compare them to the other guys, they're angels, but compared to the previous guys, they're far from that. The Dudley Boys. I mean, is this hard? The Dudleys were babyface bullies who would add insult to injury to heels. They'd go for the wazop, use deceitful tactics, which I should note is if they're used against them first, and were almost a dirty team. Nonetheless, as I said earlier, they're nothing compared to the others, and similar to the Dudley Boys on SmackDown were the APA. Bradshaw and Farouk. Two men that were practically begging for fights. They were rough and unpleasant to face, whether it was a face or a heel, and God forbid you bump into them or something, because they'll kick your ass like you were a rookie. Other than that, though, the APA, once the bell rang, mostly followed the rules, although they'd bend them. From beer-drinking ass-kickers to one of the most random groups from 2003 WWE, Jindrak and Cade. Paired for unknown reasons, I assume because they're fresh talent, Jindrak and Cade floundered on the Raw roster and were mostly tag team jobbers. They had forgettable music, forgettable characters, and of course forgettable matches. One thing that stood out to me, though, is that they were thieves. When Triple H ordered a hit on Goldberg, he offered the one to take about $100,000, and the bounty on Goldberg was on, and instead of taking him out, these two preferred to steal the money. It goes to show their true characters in kayfabe. I mean, Maven hated Evolution. Did he steal their money? No. That's what places them here, otherwise they wouldn't even be in this video. And their actions in general are not exactly heinous because Evolution, looking at it at face value, deserved that, right? In the upper card on Monday night slide the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. HBK was a beloved babyface, and from my perspective, the number 2 babyface behind Goldberg. For the most part, HBK was calm and composed, and he had his intense moments, but occasionally he'd bring out that old HBK. That HBK who was a douche for no reason. Michaels was all about marking his territory. If he's got to be a douche to do it, then so be it. 2003, though, was nothing compared to other years such as 2005, where the old HBK was in full force for a few months. Here, though, it was very, very, very rare because, as I said, as time went on, you'd see more of that old HBK coming in occasionally. You know, he's being a douche to John Cena, Batista, whoever. But here, there's not that many moments. The women's division of 2003 is highly regarded as it contained a star-studded lineup of talent, and amongst the names that found success in 2003 was Molly Holly. 2003 was her year without a doubt in kayfabe. Her character played a huge part. She was very self-centered and always reminded everyone of her accomplishments, and at times, she would threaten others such as Gail Kim to get what she wanted. However, on the other side, she won a lot of her matches clean to establish herself as a dominant champion. Molly was winning matches clean, doing all that, And that in itself prevents her from being further down on the list. You know, she was just a regular heel while we look at it at face value. She was winning her matches clean, but this man couldn't do it to save his life. I'm talking about Matt Hardy version 1. After turning on his brother Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy's ego grew the size of Batista's. His ability was always put into question by the commentary because of his constant reliance on his moron, Shannon Moore. Hardy was so full of himself that on the Titantron he provides some mad facts which were nice. His shtick wasn't exactly dangerous like others in this video, but he was a certified douche inside and outside the ring. Ever since Rock returned from Hollywood, he developed this arrogant persona known as Hollywood Rock. Hollywood Rock was giving back to the fans what they were dishing out, although I feel everything was even by the time Rock called the Toronto faithful a couple of mother Canuckers. And after that, though, it just seemed unfair for him to criticize the fans. It was obliterating crowds on a weekly basis, felt that he should be treated as a huge star despite leaving them and throwing insults. Rock was not exactly a super heel by any means, and he was more on the comedy side and pales in comparison to the others. Even his arch rival Stone Cold Steve Austin. Upon his return in early 2003, Stone Cold told everyone that he was the most pissed that he was in his career. And was this true? Well, it's up to you to decide. Austin took the role of co-GM with Eric Bischoff and stunned anybody that pissed him off, and it got to the point where a no-touch rule was placed. If anyone touches him, then he gets to fight back. He would attack injured wrestlers, stun Stacy Keibler for not liking beer, and would raise hell for the sake of it. A lot of these beatdowns were warranted, but for the most part, they were for very petty reasons. Austin even placed his career on the line just to get the chance to fight people without any reason, and he lost. The knack for assaulting others cost Austin his career, or in this case, a month of his salary, because in the final episode, he was back. 2003 proved to be Captain Charisma's coming out party. With the help of The Rock, Christian changed his look and transformed into the man everyone knows today. He was winning titles, appearing more often on TV, and 2003 was very important in his development. His placing here seems somewhat out of place, but Christian did more than enough to earn his spot. He was trying to manipulate his way into a bed with Lita, betting $1 Canadian with his buddy Chris Jericho, and of course on top of that, he had the usual heel tactics that helped him win matches. 2004 of course would prove to be Christian's most dastardly year up to that point in his career, but we're in 2003 now. And plus, there's much worse than him. His friend Chris Jericho was just a bit further on the wrong side of morality. He kicked off the year screwing Shawn Michaels out of his Royal Rumble spot and leaving him a bloody heap, convinced everyone that he respected and adored HBK but then kicked him in the balls, vandalized Goldberg's vehicle and almost ran him over, cheated in multiple matches, locked JR on the walls of Jericho, and to top it all off, himself and Christian had that whole Trish and Lita thing. I kind of doubted Y2J's placing here, but I'd say he's properly rated. Even then, it's not his worst here morally, not by a long shot. Jericho's vile, but as I said, 2003, you just had too many villains, you had too many evil people that would easily top what he did here within a month. Eddie Guerrero, Latino heat. This man was manipulative, egotistical, selfish, all of the bad traits, yet everyone loved him. Guerrero's crimes included attacking Tajiri for touching his car and in turn ending a 2-month tag team, using title belts to get others disqualified and lying on the mat like he was the one who got assaulted. Guerrero would take the shortcut at a moment's notice if it got him just a little advantage over the others, and it's not like all of Eddie's immoral acts were not without reason. Big Show was racist against him and Chavo was attacking them, so he spiked some tacos and brought out a dump truck and hosed them in what some call it Backlash 2018. Eddie ranks here because he was a very versatile person. Unlike somebody like The Rock who was petty, Eddie was a cheater, a thief, and of course a liar. Higher up on the SmackDown card, Kurt Angle was leading the Blue Brand, holding the most coveted gold and doing it with dishonor. Now Angle believes he's an honorable man, but his actions initially showed that he was anything but. Tricking Brock Lesnar into helping him win the title and refusing to give him a title shot, cheating Lesnar out of a title shot by using his brother, wanting to grab the brass ring by trying to have a moment with Stephanie, and Angle was always planning for ways to keep the title, and at WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar took it from him. Upon his return, Angle seemed to have mellowed out as a babyface and lacked any dastardly moments, and if Angle was a heel for the entire year, for sure he'd be further on the list. The list of things he did in 2004 would blow away almost everyone on the 2003 roster in itself, but that's for another video. In other parts of the SmackDown locker room emerged a rookie from West Newbury, Massachusetts, John Cena. As the clean-cut rookie, Cena accomplished nothing. He peaked in his first month, and so something had to change. He turned into a rapper and would eviscerate his opponents weekly with diss tracks that involved him saying they have a small telling them to stop sitting on his, and at the same time, he'd commit some odd crimes, such as stealing Eddie Guerrero's tire. Cena was talking about Border Patrol to Latino heat, this and that, pissed on a grave, and this is just off the top of my head. If this was today's WWE, Cena easily places near the top of the list, but this is 2003, which was a whole different time period. I mean, how are you going to put Cena over the likes of Kane and Triple H? You just can't. Now, this part of the video is reserved for those who are immoral. These guys are a bit worse than others here because of multiple reasons. Either they're bounty hunters or it's in their nature to cheat and steal. the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Ever since aligning himself with Triple H, Flair brought out that old side to him. The man who was confident and had the charisma to light up a city. Obviously, he wasn't the same exact man, but his character traits were mostly the same. Flair was egotistical, whiny, a cheater, and displayed a very questionable attitude towards women. He thought everyone wanted him and would always disrupt the babyface's momentum in their match with Evolution. Flair's inclusion in this part of the video is easy. It's simple, and despite all of these traits, I still feel it's far off compared to others. You know, like, even though Ric Flair was dirty, he was cheating, doing all that, there were still others that were much worse than him, right? Plus, he didn't really get to do many heinous acts to rank further down in the video, although he was associated with Evolution. A-Train. A-Train wasn't in the business of lying and stealing. All he'd do is destroy anyone in sight. Anyone who Vince would set his eyes on. And in kayfabe, he'd do a good job unless it came down to somebody like The Undertaker. We don't need to mention moments because everyone knew what A-Train was capable of, but there was that time he faced Stephanie McMahon and almost destroyed her. A-Train was driven to satisfy McMahon by inflicting damage on whoever. And this was very similar to Brock Lesnar, who turned heel at the time, but A-Train clearly wasn't that bad of a person, or at least he wasn't able to show that much because, you know, I mean, A-Train did beat Stephanie, but even with all his attacks, he didn't blind someone like Tajiri. He didn't leave someone permanently injured, or at least that's what everyone thought at the time. This man went from green mist, which would hurt for a few minutes, to red mist as a heel, and the red mist actually brought him the Cruiserweight title, to the black mist, which blinded Nydia. The man had no remorse and would often rely on Akio and Sakota to aid him in victory. And you're wondering, like, why in the hell Tajiri's here? What the hell would he do? Well, in kayfabe, this man doesn't really care who he blinds and impairs. As long as he gets the victory, it's good. You know, he blinded Nydia. She didn't see anything for a couple of months, and he had no remorse over this. Others did a lot of things, but this is probably one of the worst things somebody could do in 2003 WWE. Batista. The one thing Batista had going against him at the time was the fact that he was out for half the year with an injury. He was almost replaced in Evolution, but as we know, that never materialized, and in October of 2003, he returned and did it with a bang as Batista captured the 100K bounty on Bill Goldberg. He took him out and injured his ankle, leaving the champion a wounded animal for Triple H. In addition, he was responsible for Shawn Michaels' loss at Survivor Series, which resulted in Stone Cold Steve Austin's career ending. He didn't give a damn and was driven just by being a douche, simple as that. If he injures you, ends your career, so be it. I mean, who's going to win a fight against this guy? He could do whatever he wanted. You know it, and I know. Even in real life, although if you ask Booker T, that's a different story. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, the Big Show was on something else. He already had the size, yet felt the need to be a bully just for the sake of it. He destroyed Rey Mysterio and won the match, so instead of taking his ass back to the dressing room, he grabbed a stretcher with Rey and broke his bones. No protection, none of that. Big Show went after an injured Eddie Guerrero, not only for his title, but hated his kind, chokeslamming him onto his lowrider and breaking the glass shield. Man was vicious, racist, and sometimes his aggression was without reason. Like, what would Rey have done to have pissed him off so much? It's not like he could see into the future, otherwise it's understandable. Now, this man might seem a bit out of place, but I have my reasons. Some of you might agree, some of you might not. I'm talking about Jamie Noble. After receiving a large inheritance from a family member, Jamie Noble essentially became rich. He's all happy with Nydia. Hell, he even got some with Tori Wilson, but when the going got tough, Nydia taking the black mist and becoming blind, he opted to use her as a shield in his matches. Rey's about to 619 his ass, he places her in front of him, and no matter what the situation, the blind girlfriend is in danger. Hell, at one point, he even drop kicked her, and this went on for months and months, and Noble was doing it like it was regular business. If he wasn't caught eventually in storyline, he would still be doing it. Your perspective might be different, but for me, this places him high up on the list. You know, Jamie Noble is just almost evil, right? While Jamie Noble was out here putting others in harm's way, another individual was giving advice that was in that very same direction. I don't think that sounded too good. Might delete it. Sean O'Haire. Upon being called up to the main roster in early 2003, Sean O'Haire became what was eventually known as the Devil's Advocate. He'd talk about something such as going to church and argue against it. Oh, God will forgive you, this and that, don't pay your taxes, the government's going after the big guy, give in to your vices, and his influence somewhat made its way to SmackDown with the likes of Dawn Marie stripping at his request, Spanky running around naked, but not much came from that. O'Haire's might had the potential to cause hell on SmackDown with his charisma and charm. However, the true potential of the character never materialized. That said, he was almost evil. The man would lead others to a certain position and would let go. They do the rest, so it makes it seem like he isn't responsible. And as he said, I'm not telling you something you already know. Had Sean O'Haire continued making his presence felt on SmackDown, he'd probably be top 5 in this video, but he didn't. And so I left him near the evil category. The evil side of WWE. A lot of these are up for debate, but one thing for sure is that these men were some of the most violent in WWE. They were legend killers, men of authority, just terrible people. So who's first? Test and Scott Steiner. After having a relationship with Stacy Keibler, Test's face characteristics slowly faded. He began going out to parties, in particular the Girls Gone Wild thing, much to the dismay of Stacy Keibler. It was also more aggressive with her, leading to Scott Steiner stepping in, and a feud ensues between the two over her managerial services and other things. Steiner ended up putting his freedom on the line for her, and it got him nothing. So he assaulted her, and Test decided, why not make her our bitch? We hate her, she pisses us off, and that's what they did. Her career for the next few months was filled with misery and was only freed after Mick Foley fired them. It's very easy to see why they were even in this video. Test in particular was just something else. He was just one of the biggest heels on Raw from a moral standpoint. Then you add Scott Steiner to the mix. You got a 66 and 2/3% chance of adding them to the evil category. Now, we're all talking about these evil guys on Raw or whatever, but what about the man that was running the show with all this chaos? Eric Bischoff. This man was the slimiest person on the Raw roster and would allow for so much to go on without a worry, especially if it was a heel doing it. He assaulted JR, kissed McMahon's wife randomly, interfered in the Survivor Series match, allowed for Evolution to do whatever they wanted, which included a 100K bounty, attacking the good guys. It didn't matter. There's probably more on the list, but for the sake of this video, I hope you understand how dangerous Eric Bischoff was to Raw and kayfabe. Favoring heels, assaulting commentators, trolling the fans, was eager to get a night with Trish Stratus, even facing her in a match to ensure it happens. And man was wild. He was crazy. In 2003 was probably his most vile year in WWE. Okay, the placing this person on this list might seem controversial, but I feel they did enough to earn this position. Randy Orton, the Legend Killer. Under the tutelage of Triple H and Ric Flair, 2003 proved to be a year where Orton developed into one of the most violent, heartless wrestlers on the Raw roster. And even then, this was nothing compared to what would come later on. But for starters, Orton was taking out legends to feed into his ego and placed them on the list. Orton saw these men as nothing more than a stepping stone, and it didn't matter if they were in a wheelchair. Orton would insult and belittle them. Hell, he even attacked a bunch of them. He delivered RKOs in abundance like he's Oprah to these legends. And in one night in particular, he basically ruined Mick Foley and punted him down the stairs, electrocuted Goldust into having Tourette's, and got rid of Mick Foley at the end of the year. This man was already doing more at 23 than half the roster ever did in terms of crimes, and I wouldn't even put this in the top 5 most vile years of his career. Yeah, here Orton, from my perspective, was one of the top 10 worst characters in terms of morals. He was a menace. And the final wrestler on the evil tier is Brock Lesnar. Lesnar, in any following era, especially the current era, he'd be evil premium for his actions in 2003. Now, Lesnar kicking off the year was a babyface. He was vicious, but you wouldn't take a beating if you didn't deserve it. After Kurt Angle took the WWE title away from him, this is where it kicked up a notch. With Mr. McMahon by his side, the boss turned the beast into a violent machine void of any compassion for others. He destroys Spanky like he's nothing, makes Zach Gowen regret he's a wrestler, and follows up with a sequel by sending him down the stairs, and he left Kurt Angle, his best friend, a bloody heap because he kept his shoulders down on the mat for the 3 count. Despite his ability, he was cheating out of title matches by rigging the draw and was bulletproof as his buddy Paul Heyman was running the show. Lesnar at his core was a carnivore who craved blood and championship glory, yet when somebody like The Undertaker or Kurt Angle, hell, Hardcore Holly fought back, he'd make a run for him. Okay, it's time for Evil Premium. This is reserved for the worst of the roster. Brock Lesnar couldn't even enter this tier, and he almost ended a defenseless man. Eric Bischoff caused hell on Raw, and he couldn't even get here, so who's first? The Undertaker. Big Evil was literally his nickname, and for good reason. In the past 2 years, he forced JR to kiss ass, attacked Lita, bullied Maven for eliminating him, but that's in the past. What about 2003? Well, 03 for Taker, at least compared to others, he was mellowed out. But even a mellowed out Undertaker is still one of the most vile wrestlers in WWE. He destroyed Big Show's messengers in a way that made it seem like they meant what they were saying, and of course the thing that brings him to this point is the fact that he wanted to bury his boss. Not kick his ass, give him a proper beating, but basically end him with no doubt in his mind. He could have chosen any match for this, Hell in a Cell, ladder, whatever, but he chose a buried alive match. His plan was coming to fruition, but Kane ended up ruining everything, leaving him a dead man actually dead. It ended there, but these actions made Taker one of the only men on the roster at the time that actually wanted to kill someone. It wasn't like, I'm gonna kill you in a promo. He was actually literally about to do it here. As for this man, I feel he holds a number of worst person on the roster awards. Triple H. This man was the final boss of Raw. Triple H's actions throughout the year were nothing short of what you'd expect him to do. He became racist for a month to get into Booker T's head, turned on his best friend Kevin Nash, left half the roster a bloody heap with JR suffering a strained voice and displeasure over what had transpired, and then he lost the title. Instead of challenging like a normal person, he puts out a hit on Goldberg. 100K, whoever takes him out gets this briefcase. In the wake of this, Goldberg almost got ran over, attacked backstage, and when he finally got taken out, Batista broke his ankle. Triple H did all of this and needed some help from Evolution just to lose at Survivor Series. He's the prime example of a supervillain. He had no boundaries, and if it came down to it, would kill to reclaim what's his. Vince McMahon, yeah, we couldn't make an introduction for this one. This man went from show to show, causing terror, allowing for terror for ratings, and at one point he was a face on Raw, pissing off Eric Bischoff, and on SmackDown, Hulk Hogan's life was miserable. Zach Gowen was bullied in many ways, and then there's the Stephanie thing. He started booking his daughter like she was a wrestler in matches with A-Train. Brock Lesnar cheated on his wife with Sable, and best of all, he faced Stephanie in a one-sided match. This man was wilding more than the wrestlers on the roster, and for him, it's a regular day to be with Sable and go after his daughter. In addition, he unlocked the beast Brock Lesnar and had him destroy his opponents with ease, and all of this would make him number one, but there was somebody far more dangerous and evil. You guys know who this is. If you watched WWE in 2003, there's no doubt in my mind, you and I agree on this one, it's Kane. Fresh off unmasking, the big red monster lived up to his name. Sure, occasionally he'd do something that showed he's still the same person, but for the most part, he lacked that viciousness and violence the old Kane had until now. Kane was so feared at this point that he was shackled up. He attacked Linda McMahon, Eric Bischoff, and even burned JR. This man was beyond evil, and all the things I mentioned happened within 1 month. He almost burned RVD, was planning on setting Shane McMahon on fire, but it, no pun intended, backfired, and even then, he destroyed hospital staff, electrocuted his balls like he's cooking a steak, and to top it all off, he buried his brother alive. Nobody comes close to Kane in this video. Not at all. Some were evil, and their evil was motivated by glory, power, but not a single soul was evil for the sake of it. Kane's at the top of the list like the Warriors' his dynasty a couple of years back, Bayern Munich in the German league, Roman Reigns is booking right now. No one comes close. If we had an evil chart, Kane would be the final boss of 2003 WWE. This man makes Triple H look like Rey Mysterio from a moral standpoint. But that's how crazy he was. That's how insane he was. Alright, that's it for this video. You might be wondering, oh, Warriors insert this guy, this and that. I couldn't include everyone. I wanted to pace this video properly, so I apologize for that once more. I purposely left out some like Paul Heyman, Shane McMahon, who I feel was in a situation in kayfabe where he basically had to destroy Kane, and stuff like that. I honestly enjoyed making this video. It took a while because it's actually my first time doing this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I just want to know, like, who do you guys feel I listed wrong? Because there's going to be someone on here you guys disagree with. Maybe Randy Orton, maybe Batista, who knows? I want to know in the comments down below, so yeah. Alright, what you guys think of this video? Please comment down below, and that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the pedigree on the like button, and perhaps the F5 on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.